Howdy YouTube, and welcome to this episode of the Gunman. So today I'll be taking you through the prep work and masking on this Audi A5 painted in Cuvee silver. So we've got a rear bumper to do. I won't be including any of that footage. We've also got the left-hand front door to do a blend on. And we've got this sort of funny looking damage here. It nearly looks like an egg's been spilt on it. And they gave me a blend on the bonnet, so I decided to fix all the stone chips at the same time. Wasn't actually part of the damage, all the stone chips, but when possible I will always fix all the stone chips. Painting over stone chips just is not cool. And in this instance I did decide to put the color edge to edge all the way over that bonnet because I was able to match it to a pretty good standard. So first up, obviously assess your damage, decide the way that you're going to go about it. They said to me, well, do you want to prime that? And I said it's not going to need it. Like, experience told me that won't need primer. So yeah, just clean the entire panels down first with my mixture of methylated spirits and water, and then dried it down with a rag, just a clean cloth, and going around masking up all the edges so that I don't damage the surrounding panels when I'm doing my prep work. Just using a piece of 3/4 inch masking tape, 18mm masking tape. Next up, just getting the 600 grit on my orbital sander and sanding the panels down. It's pretty basic, really. Should really be using dust extraction, some sort of dust extraction. However, at this point I didn't have my own little vacuum cleaner, but since this video I do actually have my own vacuum cleaner, and I've put it onto my trolley. So those who follow me on Instagram will be familiar with it. Pretty cool little thing. Just cost me like $65 from a local hardware store. A couple of cable ties and off you go. It's working a treat. But yeah, just buzzing it down with 600 grit. You can go 800 grit if you're unsure about using 600. You do have to be quite careful on your edges. You can cut through if you're not experienced with the orbital in your hand. However, I've found that, like, if I was to sand this down with 800 grit instead of 600, I'd probably use twice the amount of pieces of sandpaper. You'd get half a panel done, you'd rip it off because it's starting to pigtail. So yeah, I've just found 600's quicker and easier, and yeah, more cost efficient as well because you're not using as much sandpaper. I've had one person recently, Ricky, I'm not even going to try and pronounce the last name because I would probably butcher it. But yeah, he said that he's using a 2.5mm with 2.5mm orbital, sorry, a 5mm orbital sander with 600 grit on it, and he's getting pigtails in it. So just do be careful, you know, like it's not necessarily the sander and the grit that he's using. It's possibly the sandpaper even. You know, if you use cheap sandpaper, they can clog up quite quickly, and you can get little bits of paint clog up in the sandpaper, and that can actually be what causes the pigtail. Even like some sandpapers, 600 in Merca, for instance, might be different than 600 in SIA or 600 in 3M. They shouldn't be, but sometimes they are. We just use the blue line masking, sandpaper, and I find it really good. Like, they're not ultra cheap, they're not ultra expensive. It's sort of like middle ground, and I find they last for quite a while, and I don't get any pigtails through them. And then I just use the Norton softback sanding sponges. When I was using Chromax Pro, the first time I used it, they had the 3M softback sanding sponges, and I found them really coarse. If I went to paint over 500 with the Chromax Pro, I would get big sanding scratches through it. So it's part of it's just trial and error. Find what works for you. Like, if you started a new shop, and your first job gets sanding scratches in it, just go to the next step up. You know, if you're using 600, go up to 800. If you're using 800 and you're still getting sanding scratches, go up to 1,000 need be, you know. So yeah, once I've sanded it down, I'll then go around and check for all the stone chips. Like, this thing was pretty peppered in stone chips. I actually thought I'd got them all, but there must have been like 2 tiny little stone chips left up the back edge of this bonnet. So once we're in the booth, you'll actually see that I saw it as soon as I got a coat of silver on. Especially silvers, these kind of colors will show up any imperfections in your prep work. So If I was to say, for instance, just sand these blends down, like go stupid, just say 240, you would just see sanding scratches all through it. Whereas like if it was black, you'd see the sanding scratches, but you could actually pump some clear on it. Yes, it would still shrink back, and you shouldn't do it, and I don't do it. But yeah, silvers, after like what it looks like in base coat, it'll look like in clear coat, you know. Whereas as I was saying, like if you get a tiny little scratch that you see in a darker color, you can load it up with a bit of clear, and need be later on you can polish it back, because it will, you won't see the scratches in the darker colors. So just doing your best to get that filler in nice and tight, because we're not priming this panel. So if you get it in too thick, then it won't sand out nicely, and you'll possibly be left with high spots where the filler was. So there's a quick look at the color. You can see that it's an improvement on their color on their bumper bar. And as I say, like my color is going to be going right over that bonnet, and you'll be able to see at the end of the video that yeah, color looks nice, blended out quite nice. I did this car probably about 2 months ago, so to be honest, I can't remember what I had to do the color matching on it. But I've mentioned in some videos recently that I do plan on actually going back to revisiting some color matching videos. I've had a few people ask about it recently, and yeah, but on the other hand, I do actually have color matching videos. There's not much in this trade that I haven't sort of got a video dedicated to, so yeah, all I'm doing here is actually using a razor blade to shave down most of that filler. As I was saying before, you can actually end up with like high spots if you don't, if you're not careful. So what I used to do is I'd put the filler in, and then I'd just either orbital sand it out or block it out. But doing that, you can end up with like cutting through, and as I say, like high and low spots. You can sort of like cut through your clear coat, and then you get big shrink back areas where you cut through your clear. Whereas doing it this way, it's not unlike shaving a rundown. So you're only going to be actually shaving the highs of the filler down. But if you don't put enough in, like if you wipe it so that you can't see any filler on the panel, then you won't actually fill the low spot of the stone chip, and then you'll get your color on there, and you'll see like it's still a small indentation, although you've tried to fill it. So still do need to have it a little proud, I guess. Like you do need to have a little bit sitting up over the surface of the paint. But yeah, obviously being very careful when you're using razor blades on your paintwork that you don't cut into it. I would imagine that's pretty self-explanatory though. But yeah, just get a new one, you know, and yeah, as you can see, it just shaves it nice, and you're just left with all this sort of powder, and off you go. I will then actually give it a bit of a sand over. If it's just 1 or 2 spots, I might just give it a quick hand sand with a bit of 800. This many pieces, I'll probably give it an orbital sand though, just get some 600 and just buzz over it. No need to block, I've found, because this, essentially the razor blade is acting as a block, you know. Try it. If it works for you, go for it. Do it yourself, you know. But yeah, with spots like this, like they're all freebies anyway. So these stone chips aren't the reason the car is in there. If the reason the car, like the purpose of the job being there was for the stone chips, I would still do this stage. I would put the filler in there, I would razor blade it out, I would then orbital sand it down, but I would prime it, because as I mentioned before, I get this in the booth and I still found 2 extra stone chips there. And there is a very small possibility of having some of these shrink back a little bit. So like you'll paint over it, it might look good, but then a day or 2 later it might sort of sink back a little bit. So you might have a slight low spot. But the way I see it with stuff like this, it was not why the car was here. It was a freebie anyway. I didn't get stone chips all through this guy's bonnet. We just had to blend into this bonnet for the sake of painting our guard. So out of good faith, I'm fixing them. But if they're not 100% right, I'm sorry, it's not really my fault, you know what I mean? So yeah, we do our best, but I mean, for us to go and prime that whole bonnet, we would want to go and blend the garden, and the job gets bigger than we're even able to get paid for, you know? So insurance company won't pay for a prime on a panel like that and a full color, you know? Although I did full color it anyway, just out of it's the right thing to do. I don't really like blending bonnets anyway. However, if there wasn't those stone chips on the driver's side, I would have been able to sort of blend it off that line. That was sort of like a good line to blend on. So yeah, like this video originally was like a 35-minute video, so I've decided to start breaking them up, just to make them, partially actually just make it a little bit easier on me to narrate and edit and that kind of stuff. So hopefully you guys have been enjoying them. I know some people completely don't mind the longer videos. I've got absolutely no problem with them, but from a viewer's standpoint, I guess it's, doesn't take such a time commitment, like if you want to sit down at lunch, you could probably watch yourself a 15-20 minute video. However, 35-40 minutes, like, yeah, it's a little bit too much. So as always, I'm open to any feedback. If you've got any ideas for upcoming videos, always open to that. I always do read the comments. I can't always reply to them because, yeah, it gets a bit hectic with all the comments across all my videos. I think I'm coming up to 450 videos on YouTube soon, so not far off the big 500. And it's nearly my 4th anniversary of my first upload as Gunman, and not too far off 100k subscribers. So big things to come for this channel, and I'll do my best to keep it fresh. However, this has always been my bread and butter, just average everyday spray painting. I like spray painting, but yeah, it's always good to throw some extra different things and new ideas into the mix. So look, to finish this video off, you've got a little bit of masking, and then we'll just wipe the entire job down with wax and grease remover. So I'll let you see the rest of the video out without my ugly mug in the bottom of the video, and I hope you have enjoyed it. Give it a thumbs up if you did, and I'll see you in the next video where we'll be painting some shit. Thanks for watching, and this has been another Gunman production.